Hello, everyone. Welcome to our webinar on our HR bot for Microsoft Teams. Thank you for taking the time today to join this webinar. We're glad you can be part of it, and we'll go through what we have, what Crocanyon has for the HR bot inside of Teams, and also some information on bots in general. Let me see, I'm showing the screen. People can hear me. Just making sure everything's good here. And before we get going, I do want to mention that we have questions. If you have questions, you can put them into the questions box that's part of the webinar screen here. And then we'll be trying to answer them during the webinar. We have James and Manish here who can help with the answering of questions. I am Scott Restivo, CEO and president of Crocanyon Software. We have been in business for 21 years now. We started in 1999, and we've been involved in the Microsoft platform, the Microsoft stack for all that time. And we started out in the public folders and Exchange, and we got into SharePoint some years ago. And now we are fully invested in the SharePoint and the Microsoft Office 365 world, as well as Teams. We're doing a lot with Teams these days. We're also a preferred partner with Microsoft, and we're also a certified California small business. We do a lot of work with state government, not just California, but throughout all states and actually all governments throughout the world, as well as many, many other kinds of organizations. We've been in business quite some time and have a number of customers that range worldwide who work with us to solve their business problems and automate solutions. Crocanyon, just a little brief on that. We have business applications. There's 12 or 15 applications that are core, with service desk, customer service, purchasing, onboarding, asset management, those kind of things. One of them is the HR request system, and today we'll be talking about the HR bot and Teams integrating with this HR system in the back end. We have Nitro Studio, which is our application creation platform for building applications and forms and workflows inside of Microsoft Office 365 or SharePoint on premises. People are using it for InfoPath replacement or replacing access forms or to build new solutions on their own that meet particular business purpose of their organization. Then we have custom solutions where we work with our customers on building solutions that are specific to their needs, and we have the AI and bot services, which we'll talk about today, and that's a big part of our organization right now. Okay, so Nitro Studio involves forms, workflows, reporting. It gives you a way to build the applications, runs in Microsoft Office 365. It integrates with Teams, and that's what we'll be talking about today. And it also runs on premises, SharePoint 2013, 2016, 2019. The Teams integration we'll talk about today is mostly geared towards Microsoft Office 365. They call it Microsoft 365 now. I'm still calling it Office 365, so I use Microsoft Office 365 so we're clear on what we're talking about here. On-premises Teams and the bots don't really apply too well to that. You have to be in the Office 365 world. Okay, so today we're talking about HR request bot for Teams. There's a lot of information, a lot of places we can go talking about bots. Crocanyon's been doing bots for several years now, and it's quite an interesting and fascinating field as a way to move an application into more of a interface with users, more of a interactive interface versus the forms that's been so consistent for so many years, electronic forms. It's like a new model. And what the advantages of this HR request bot, whether it's the HR request bot or other bots, is the fact that it is a friendly and easy way. It's an interactive way, an engaging way for users to interact with an application rather than just filling out a form. They get some kind of semi-personal interaction, you could say. It's friendly, it's intuitive. You can make the bots have different personalities. You can make them have different ways they work with the users. So it's quite fun to do that and build up bots in different worlds. It backends. This particular bot backends to our HR request management system. We also have IT bots that will backend to our service desk, and we're developing a purchasing bot that will backend to our purchasing system. I mean that the interaction goes on in Teams, and then the activity and the business process automation goes on inside the backend SharePoint application. which is we've had for many years. Now, you don't have to use our SharePoint applications, our Office 365 applications with bots, but we're promoting the idea that using the bots gives it a new way of interface, the users a new way to interface that's engaging, attractive, and can help them save time, save time and get answers quicker, both for the staff and the end users. End users can get an answer right away, and staff doesn't have to manage routine issues as much if the bot can handle them. And the bot also runs 24/7, doesn't take a vacation, and it improves with usage as you get to know how people are using the bot and what kind of questions they are asking in that bot. So let's move right into it. What are bots? I put this here because a lot of people think of bots and we think of Star Wars or science fiction kind of things. And this is kind of the common perception, perhaps. It's automated, highly intelligent, interactive thing that's going to, but it's not. Bots are not really that way. It's just the word bots got used into robots and things, but bots are really about conversational interfaces. When we talk about bots in terms of applications, we're talking about developing a conversation interactive interface for the user. It doesn't look as fancy as the gold-plated CP3PO, whatever it is. Over here, it's an interface. It's in Teams right here, this one that we're looking at, and it's more of a conversation, but the functionality is very, very attractive, even if the look isn't as fancy as, say, wherever that robot is that rolls around in Star Wars. I forgot the name. But this is a way to give a really good functionality through these interfaces to users. So what we're doing here is adding a new kind of interface to our cloud-based service. Well, we're talking about our SharePoint and Office 365-based applications. We have the web pages you can go through, you have mobile, and now we have bots that can run through Teams and interact. So it's another way of interacting, and it's a way that's more interactive way of interacting, you could say. It's a more conversational. There's a call and a response. There's a question and an answer. So we'll see some of that. We'll get right into that. Don't worry, I'm not going to go through too many slides here, and we'll get right into the demos. We have a lot to show you, and I'm trying to keep it short and focused. I do want to point out that when you use bots, and one advantage of it, that it can access the Microsoft Azure cognitive services using natural language processing and language understanding. So there becomes a little bit of this AI element to AI element to the bots more than a form is. A form can have some dynamism in it, in the fact of you make selections and it changes what shows up on the form and things like that. It can react to certain events on the form, but it's not quite the same as a bot that can be reading, natural language or reacting in a way that makes the conversation happen and also guides the user in a way to the solution they need, the answers they need in an expeditious manner. There are several kinds of bots out there. We're going to ignore the consumer bots entirely because that's not what we're talking about here. Basically, there are, in the business world, there's FAQ customer service kind of bots. We do have that. Microsoft has a Q&A maker bot that you can put together, very simple call and response kind of bot. We have that available. We can help you develop it. It's actually, if you have Azure going, you can probably do it in 20 or 30 minutes. And then mainly it's getting the knowledge base and the data that it reads from together to create that FAQ bot, but it's very limited in what it can do. We in our applications world needed to move more into the alert notification and the business process automation bots. Those are ones that really provide real true functionality in Teams, not just call, response, answer questions kind of thing, but actually guide a business process through to completion and help the user get what he or she needs done and get the answers they need. One other thing that I want to point out before I go into the demos, this is the last slide, is that we incorporate bot telemetry into our bots so that the bot improves over time. I'll show you this in real time. This is just a screenshot, but we have that going in our bots. We have dashboards, analytics, and logging that will help you improve the bot over time. The bot, as users use it, and you find what questions they're asking, what answers are not provided or could be refined, you get statistics so that it improves over time. Not only is the bot running 24/7, not only does it never take a vacation, it actually gets better and never needs retraining. Now, this is a serious case for the economic advantages of bots. The economic advantage of bots is enormous, and the more I dig into this, the more I see like this is done right. Let me put that caveat. Bots done right have enormous economic advantages to any company. And if you are on this webinar Of course you're on the webinar, but I mean, if you're on this webinar and interested in bots and where it can go, let's strike up the conversation about it and what we can do for your company, because the economic value we've seen over the past years is really enormous and getting better and better. What you can do with a bot to save time on the end user side, on the staff side, and staff can focus more on important things that are oriented towards human intelligence rather than just routine question answering. Then it's just an productivity improvement of the nth degree that can be done. And of course, and that means doing it right. The bots done right. If you do them wrong, they can be kind of silly and a waste of time, and users get very, you could say, skeptical, I guess, of the bot's capabilities. Yeah, they go, yeah, sure, the bot, but you do it right, they'll be like, whoa, that's something, wow. And it's kind of cool because you can kind of build sort of a personality and becomes like another member of your organization in some ways, you could say. All right, let me get out of this and go over to the demos. I think you'll be impressed with what you see. We're going to start with an FAQ bot. Well, FAQ aspect of our self-service bot. Then we'll go into the self-service bot as it can integrate with Teams and what it does in Teams and how it can send a message to a channel. It can send adaptive cards to a channel or to a user, I mean, and do all this functionality that really is true business process automation as it integrates with our back-end HR request management system. And as I said earlier, this could be true for IT support. It could be true for purchasing and many other of our applications. And we could also adapt these bots for your particular needs as required. So again, let me reiterate that if you have questions, James or Manish will be there to answer. And if you don't get it during this webinar, in time, we'll set some time at the end. If we don't get it during this, we'll get it to after. Send you email, communicate. It's all about communication. I mean, we do these webinars, but we love to hear from people, what you need, what you want. Just, we used to go to a lot of shows before the whole COVID thing, and we'd interact with our customers there all over the world, really. And but now we're not. So having conversations, doing these webinars and having conversations after them, or through email or through phone or whatever, it gives us a good sense of where the market's at and where you're at and what your needs are. And then we, of course, we work with our customers to provide true business productivity and efficiency gains through using the Microsoft platforms, whether it's Office 365 or SharePoint or Teams in this case. Okay, right now I'm showing the Nitro Studio. The Nitro Studio here, this is a demo. So demo, of course, demo is kind of a preview demo environment. This HR request one, this Nitro Studio, is running underneath, or the foundation of an HR request system. In this Nitro Studio, this is our Nitro Studio, you can manage the forms, the workflows, the reports, the portal, and many, many other things that go on inside of the application. So you can have a true power to configure, customize, and adapt the application to your particular needs, or use this to build your own to replace InfoPath or something like that, and access forms or whatever, to create these from scratch. Basically it runs in a SharePoint site. In the SharePoint site, you're building this, you have lists and libraries and things like that, and the forms are on those lists or libraries, and the workflows are running according to what happens inside the form or inside the library or list, and the reports, et cetera, all, it becomes an integrative whole. So now let's look at what we can do here with a bot. We're gonna go to the bots. Bots. So let's go to Teams. Let's go to Teams. I'm gonna bring up this other browser over here. Okay, here's Teams running. Let me minimize that. Okay, over here, Teams. Okay, Teams. Okay, in Teams, there is a self-service bot that we added. It gives you information about it if you want there. I just scrolled over here, but the bot exists as a entity in your Teams. You can call it up, write it, call it in the sense of search for it, or have it here on the left, or just, have it in your contacts or whatever. So here it is, and we're going to get going on what we can do here. We're going to do an FAQ scenario first. FAQ scenario first. So we're going to say hello, kind of wake the bot up. Hello, bot. How are you today? You can put chit chat and stuff like that if you want. How are you today? And answer something. Obviously it's not it's not answering like a real person, but it imitates it with what they call chit chat. But we didn't put chit chat into our bots. We really focus more on the functionality. I mean, you know. So here we go. We created this bot such that you can do multiple applications kind of as a portal. So if you want to go IT, HR, you can have multiple applications in here. And the self-service bot could start the guide of which application do you want to, which department really. It's really what department do you want to interact with. And we could put multiple ones here. Or if you only had an HR bot, we wouldn't even have to ask this question here to begin with. So first thing is, now we're going into the HR world. HR selected, it can give you an option of what you want to do here. Again, all this is configurable according to what what we'll work with you on our bot discovery service about what kind of questions or what kind of responses would work best for the customers. But what we're going to do right now is just ask a question: What are the company holidays? Company holidays. Okay, here we go. What are the company holidays? So it's going to give back an article. Mr. Bot, looking up the holidays. Here we are, the company holidays. You can read it here, or you can open up this KB article, and then see that information in real time here. Where is it opening up here? Come on. Oh, it's opening in Edge. There we go. I had to click it. So it's opening up and it gives you this. Of course, this article is configurable in the back end according to what you want to put here and what kind of formatting and everything else. I just made up a simple holiday thing here. You could put it in a calendar. You could put it in other formats. You could add little symbols of Christmas or Labor Day or whatever, New Year's, fireworks or something. But anyways, this is just an information saying here it is. Here's your, it's FAQ, call response. We put it into our self-service bot. And what it does is say there is a question, here's an answer. Simple, right? You can do stuff like another aspect of this, and then I won't go, always allow, okay. So I won't go too far there and say too far into this before we get into the business process automation of bots, which is way more interesting to be honest with you. But one more thing, how do I contact HR? Like maybe want to pick your phone number or something. Let's see if I have an article about that. Oh, okay. We want to go here and go back to here to help. We got to start over. Help. Okay, question or issue. And please tell me more. And it says contact HR. Let's see what it does here. Oh, an option from the list. Okay, let's go help. Here we go. What can you do? Let's go select the HR applications and go there. And then we'll be able to go ask that question of contacting HR. Contact HR, okay? You might want to know the HR phone numbers or email addresses of different departments. You've got a large HR department. You might want to know this. Okay, it doesn't do that. It didn't. I guess it's the old FAQ I have that in, not this one. That's my bad. Well, then you could see this in the telemetry that this question was asked, and now you've got to create an article for contacting HR. So you look at the telemetry and say, oh, that's something that needs to be in there. It was in my other FAQ over here. So anyways, moving on. The FAQs is just a matter. It's only going to respond to what's in your database to begin with. So I didn't put the contact HR knowledge base article into this demo, I guess is what happened. Oh well. It's in my other HR, in my other teams over here. Okay, now let's move right on. Moving right along, as we say in the business. Let's move right along here and go into what the more fun business automation stuff, business process automation. So let's start over again and say hello. We're coming in here new. Hello with an O, not a P. So what we're doing here is saying we are going now do a question. We have a question for the bot. And we'll go here. So it's like I'm starting over again because it's like every time you come in as a new user, it wouldn't, I'm coming in as a new user now and saying I want to add a dependent to my insurance, all right? That's what I want to do. So how do I add a dependent to my insurance? How do you do that? Okay. So then you click this. And this actually takes, this is the business process automation where it gets pretty cool. It takes you actually to the form to fill out. Here we go with the new form. And here you go. Here is now interacting with the backend HR request management system. So the person started in the bot, clicked it, and it brought them over to this request. So now they can fill out the request and becomes part of the system. If they want to add a dependent. New baby boy, have to add to insurance, right? You know, maybe they want to do something like that. Some stuff's already filled in. Category, issue type, we're adding. Dependent name is Dylan Restivo. Why not? Start date would be, start to January 1st, and he was born. It's not a true person, but he was born on May 5th, let's say. And you put some notes in, whatever you want, and then you submit it. Save it. And now it's submitted, and this person can see it if they go back to their bot and they go here, say they were exit, and you start over again. Because in a demo, I have to keep going back and forth like that, but normally it wouldn't. Exit, you go here, and then you say, hello, bot. The HR application. Again, if you only have the one application, you don't have to go through select application. And now the person wants to view their open requests. So in this system, we can see, press enter, and here we go. View my open requests. And here we go, seeing the requests that have been submitted. New baby boy, have to add to insurance. So the person can look at the open request that is here. Now, if this is Teams, and we're integrating with the back-end SharePoint HR request system, this same request shows up in the HR request. So here, new baby boy, no due date, normal. And you can configure this enormously if, this is all part of our configuration. What information do you want to show up here? Well, under different application circumstances, different information you want to show up. You might want to know, maybe due date doesn't matter here. Maybe request date matters, or status, or something like that. This is priority. So whatever shows up here is just data from the backend system that's displayed in a particular way inside of the Teams. But the person who made the request can now look here and say, okay, here's the status. And then if he wants, James wants to do this, I'm in as James, and then we can open up that request, and I'll give you a little card here that says, here's some details about it, status, and again, configurable, completely configurable in our Nitro workflows. Then you can click here and get the additional, see the full item, or add notes to it. You might want to add notes and say, whatever, I don't know what you say about new baby boy, or maybe something about the health insurance, my policy number is such and such, or something like that, or close it, whatever. So the point is that you're doing in Teams, you're seeing the request you made the request, brought you to the portal, filled out the form, the HR request portal, and he brought you to the form, you filled it out. Now in Teams, you're seeing the open request here, and you're seeing, when you click the open request, you're seeing details about it in Teams. Now, you'll remember, Teams shows up very well on the mobile devices too, so all this can be done on the mobile device quite well. It's quite interesting way to go about this. Now, something else went on here. It depends how you want to configure things, but what I did to show what we can do is when James submitted this request, maybe you want to notify a channel. Maybe, there may be some purpose in doing that. So we have an HR insurance channel, and look at this. This showed up because James entered this request just at 11:22 a few minutes ago out here in Pacific time in California. The HR request, the human resources team with the insurance channel got a request. Got a notice that James had entered this request. That can be useful if you're using a channel in Teams to be aware of requests has come in, and then you could go here and see more. Or you can see a link here. You can link, this links right to the ticket. Open it up, and then you can go to the back end system and see the actual ticket itself, and then start working on it. Maybe it means you've got to, whatever you have to do to add it to insurance, and maybe just go do it, then mark it done. Or maybe you want to reassign it to somebody else whose job that is, and then that person does it and gets it done. But it may be that you get it in this channel, and this works with IT support or HR or whatever, and you say, oh, okay, now I know it came in. You don't have to watch your email as much, if you at all, really, because you know it's coming in here. You're looking at this channel, you get a message, oh, I better jump on that and self-assign it or grab that ticket. So this is the Teams integration. We have several things going on here. You're in the bot in Teams, you're creating a new request, you're viewing existing requests, and I jumped over this thing of showing that you can actually get notifications in a particular channel based on it. Now, this notification is based on the fact that the category and issue type of this ticket is insurance, so it shows up in insurance. You can make it so it shows up in any one of these channels. Every ticket shows up in the general, or some show up in insurance, some show up in onboarding, some show up in benefits, or some show up in payroll issues. Whatever, however it gives you the flexibility to use Teams as you want and to grow with it. So what happens is, as you start to use Teams more, I mean, we're in a spectrum here. Some people are massively into Teams, other people are just looking at the, open the door and peeking in to the Teams world. So if you're growing with Teams and you start to use channels more, our system will be whatever level you want to be at. If you want to use a channel and put the notifications in channels, go ahead and we'll do it. We have various integrations with our Nitro Studio with Teams. One of them is this bot, which we'll go into a little more in detail. It will show you some adaptive cards with approve and disapprove buttons on them in a moment. It's going to get really interesting. But I want to go over these things that we can send a message to the channel, which we just did. Here we are. You see the message in the channel. The other thing, we can create a channel. We can create a channel. So it wouldn't really be, I was saying, is this apply to human resources? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe if you do onboarding, you want to create a channel every time there's a new person you want to hire, and then that becomes a place to interact with the other people managing that the onboarding of that person. Facilities, IT, and everybody else. Mostly what that is used to create a channel is when we have with our project tracker. And when a new project is generated through our project tracker, it can create a new channel. Say you had a projects team, and then each one becomes project X, project Y, project Z, whatever. And then it creates it. As you use our system to create the project, it will create the channel. So if you want to do that, that's available with our Nitro workflows in our Teams integration inside of the Nitro Studio. Pretty cool. The other thing is the third one was, send the adaptive card to Teams. You can send an adaptive card, and I'll show you that in a minute. Adaptive cards have a wide range of possibilities. And we use that to send like an approval process for approve, disapprove inside of Teams. And I'll show, let's go into that right now. So here I am. This is the back end Nitro Studio. Here's all the requests that came in and kind of the SharePoint interface here of the HR request system. We can see that James has entered in the new baby boys one here 7 minutes ago. It hasn't been assigned yet, all this, but this is the back end SharePoint. We also have and let me go back to the James's browser right here. We have a portal that a person can use. Also reads information from the back end. Some people like to use the portal for end users because it's much simpler. Look at the difference. Here you have all this going on. Here it's much simpler for the end users. And this, by the way, I'm going to state this right now because everybody asks me during these webinars. We give these webinars a lot, and I got to remember to say this. This runs in the modern UI as well as the classic. Just because I'm showing it in classic in some cases doesn't mean it doesn't run. We have modern portals. We have modern interfaces. Modern UI is actually where we spend a lot of our time. It just so happens that this one is in the classic UI right here, as well as this one in the back is in the classic UI. But we have them in the modern UI also. Just that inevitably comes up as a question. Does it run in the modern UI? Yes, it does. Of course. I mean, of course, that's what, I mean, we wouldn't be doing this if it didn't, because modern UI is where Microsoft's going. You can talk to us about that too. We got all kinds of modern UI web parts. We got modern UI interfaces, branding, all kinds of things you can do in it. Anyway, back to this HR request situation here. We have the portal. The portal can be used to generate a leave request or same kind of request that I just made for James with the new baby boy. But also James can view his request here too. The same idea. And you can get rid of this goofy picture if you don't like it. That's just format, in the portal settings, it's easy to change all that. So here it is again, new baby boy. So you get it in Teams, you get it in our portal, you can get it in the back end, depends who you are, what permissions you have, and what you want to do. Enormous level of flexibility for your end users. Our applications are meant to be used to engage and empower users, give them the tools at their fingertips to get their work done. And that's that whatever way they want to go about it, through a mobile device, through a desktop, through Teams, through a portal interface, it's all there, and it's all consistent information across the whole scenario right there. So it's the same thing. You can open up and read about how there's a Dylan is needs to be added to the insurance here. So that's not a picture of Dylan. It'd be funny if we did that, put like a picture of the person. That's just something, just a picture, it doesn't matter. But here it is, add Dylan, date of birth, all that stuff we entered is here, visible here, as well as in the Teams, as well as in the back end here. If we opened up the ticket from the back end here, we'd see the same thing. This appears, both of those forms in the portal and in this form are Nitro forms. The back end is more meant for staff to get work done, because now we're putting buttons up here that are like self-assign it, close it, assign to someone, print it, send email, different ways of looking at the different what's going on in the ticket, who's working on what's the work log, are there subtasks, are there related tasks, are we tracking time, or what emails have gone. This is where like the heavy lifting of getting the work done is, depending on, the staff needs to fulfill this request. Entering a request is just the first step, So we have a lot of automation on the back end. So let me go back to Teams, and that's what we're talking about here, Teams and the bots. If you want a whole demo or experience, talk with us about the HR request system and the back end, as well as any of our other applications, go ahead, we'll talk to you. We'll do it, there's these great systems running on Nitro Studio using all the bells and whistles, both of SharePoint, Office 365, Teams, and our Nitro Studio, put together these really great applications that, like I say, use all over the world for many different purposes. So let's go back here and let's set up the scenario. Right now I'm in as Pavan. It's a person named Pavan. Pavan wants to take a vacation, and James is his manager. So now I'm in Chrome and Pavan, two separate browsers. So we're going to start over again. We'll exit and just, in the beginning, start in the beginning here. Thank you. Have a nice day. Okay, so now we go, hello, bot. Hello, Mr. Bot. How are you today? I don't know. I almost feel like I should put chit chat in it, because I always feel like asking it. How are you? How's the weather? It's just, I don't know. It's a conversational interface. It's like more friendly to users. It's just, I don't know. Forms seem so, forms are totally useful, but there's forms and formality to the form, Don't get me wrong. I love making our Nitro forms. They're a lot of fun too. You have very high level of creativity with those. But the thing is, this bot world is getting quite interesting. And seriously, if you're interested in this, get in touch. We're deep into it. We got stacks of books on designing bots. We go to all these webinars. We read, it's what we do. Crazy as it sounds, but it's what we do. All right, so what am I doing? I'm doing a leave request. So I'll put it in, leave request, right? Leave request. So he wants to make a leave request. Okay. Leave request. So it goes here, okay, you want to leave request, click here. It didn't know he necessarily wants to submit a leave request. It's just giving him the options. You want to ask about a leave request? Here's an FAQ article. But if you want to submit one, go here. In fact, I might change that title to submit leave request. It might be even better. So you can change this on time and make it better and better and better. It's really interesting. So he's submitting a leave request. Vacation in Monaco? Okay, vacation in Monaco. Let's change that. Vacation in Yosemite. Out here in California, Yosemite's open now, I think. Vacation in Yosemite next week. He's already came up with some information filled in. Now you see this is different than the dependent information because it's a different form. We went to a leave request now. Leave type, we'll call it casual. Totally configurable to what your needs, what's in these drop lists, or what fields you want to gather in a leave request. Description, well, I don't even need a description there or notes on this. It's just, he's going on vacation. It's going to start next week on the 14th right? That's next week. And go to the 20th, let's say. And the requester's all here, filled in automatically. Your forms use autofill and grab information from SharePoint user info or Active Directory. We can do dynamic forms, have different sections show up or hide certain sections depending on what you want to do. In fact, I just did a whole forms webinar last Thursday. If you want to know anything about our forms and the range of capability of creating forms, another whole world in itself. You can do a lot. I can talk to you about that, or you can look at the webinar, or we'll do a one-on-one. Anyways, without getting lost in that, we're creating a leave request right now for Pavan, who wants to take a vacation in Yosemite next week. I realize normally you'd probably be a couple months ahead asking for your leave request, but this is a demo. What do you want? So now we do save. Oh, notice the manager is James, though, right? The manager is James. Okay, here we go. Save, and it becomes part of his, let's refresh this, and it becomes part of his viewed requests, vacation in Yosemite next week. And he gets an email, Pavan, about his auto reply back to the user, right here. And if I go here and click this, vacation, it was just sent back. He started in Teams, he went to the portal, he made the request in the portal, and now it's sending an email to Teams. It's showing up in our new list here of our list of tickets. He can see it in the portal, view his request. Vacation in Yosemite. He can also see it here if he goes here to, let's go to exit, hello, and go to view my submitted request. Open request, submitted, open, whatever. It's going to list the vacation in Yosemite, and he get the details right here. But more important than this, because a vacation request requires an approval, let's go over and see what happened in James's world. This is the channel of Teams, but over in chat, you got to notice that something showed up in chat. Well, the self-service bot has now sent this message to him. Self-service bot has sent a message to James. I'm in his James. See, it says JR, James for Stevo, James. And it's Pavan, and you get this card here. Now, this card is constructed inside our Nitro workflows. There's like 5 different sections, and the information that's put into each section is completely configurable. And I think we'll have time to show you that. It's really, really fun. Really, really interesting. It's like, wow, we can create a card with all this kind of information on it. But here we have a case where we're being asked, James specifically is being asked to deal with a leave request approval. It's this is information that was put there. Pavan chose casual leave. We know it's Pavan. Have a picture of him, I suppose. Start date, end date. If you want to view the whole request in a browser, you can. If you need more details, but if you simply want to approve it or deny it, you can. Be a bad guy and deny it. No, let's approve it. Let's let him go to Yosemite next week. So the thing is, this could be done on a mobile device quite easily. So here we go. Approve, and you put some comments in. Have a great time. Climb El Capitan for me, right? So here we go. So okay. Say hi to Alex Honnold halfway up the mountain. Anyway, Yosemite is a great place. It's really a beautiful place to go. Anyway, so now we have back here, leave request was approved. It's we're in James, and it says leave request was approved. We're done with that. So then over here, Pavan would get a notice in his chat. Let's see, where's Pavan? This is Pavan, the self-service bot, yeah. And he gets the approval message right here. Your leave request is approved. Casual leave approved by James, that we just did, and in James's, blah, 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 have a great time, and view the request in a browser. That is pretty neat in my book. I think it's really cool. So we had Pavan entered the request through the portal or through a form that, highly configurable form. That went over to James in Teams as a card that says approved, disapproved. He approved it, and now Pavan gets the message back that it's been approved. Pretty cool stuff. Now, the thing is, you could also use those cards for something like, I have a support ticket in IT. I know it's not HR, but you could have a support ticket in IT and say, hello, end user, we think we completed your ticket. Please confirm this. And then it could be, the end user could say, I confirm, or no, it's not done. You could have like buttons like that. All kinds of you can work. This can work in a purchasing system, like Pavan wants to buy a new printer, and it's going to cost $5,000 or something like that. So you can do in the purchase, go to the proper manager and approve or disapprove like that. So it's all kinds of ways. It's really up to the imagination how you want to use these cards and this whole Teams integration. The point is that all this is going on in Teams outside of the SharePoint world, but at the same time, it's fully interacting with the outside world. So we have brought business process automation by integrating with our back-end applications to the Teams interface. And so we have go here, we'll see that it's been approved. I don't have the approved. Well, let's go look here. Let's open this up in the back end. Leave details. It's here. It says manager's James, casual leave, start date the 14th, 20th, 6 days. It's been approved, and the comments were have a great time. So it's there, right there, and here also as a record, who requested it, all this information. And then, of course, you might want to, once it's approved, initiate a workflow that sends a message to HR, either an email, and now we have the option of sending it to a channel if the HR is using a channel, and so that they can record, reconcile this time off with his record, his balance of time off, things like that. And even with James in the Teams, we don't showing it in this demo, but James in the Teams, we can also do things like query a database and bring in, the balance of time off, so James can make a decision on it. Things like that. So this is like a demo trying to keep it fairly straightforward so I don't overwhelm people with the amount of capabilities that are here. And hopefully this is good and working as far as, not overwhelming. I didn't drink too much caffeine today, so not going too fast. I try to slow it down. I get excited by this stuff. It's really, really, look at it. You can open up requests, you can approve them. And Teams is a great platform, and really becoming, Microsoft's pushing this as more and more as the interface to business activity, let's say business process activity. And we have these back-end applications that are exposed in Teams and give functionality. Of course, you can always go, don't use Teams, if you want, and use the back end, or if use Teams partially or not, and et cetera, go on and on. All right, one thing I want to show you here is before we two things with the workflows. Let me go to Nitro Studio, then I'll go into the bot dashboard. Very important, the bot dashboard for telemetry that will further improve your bot. This is one of the best things about one of the really good things about bots. They get better with time with the right analysis. And the deeper we go into bots, the more we see the possibilities with this of using those analytics and data optimization and controlling, like it's probably wrong word, managing and optimizing are probably better words. Your data, your knowledge-based data, what information is going to be, and then it will be presented to the user. What's the process, the workflow? It's subtle. Let me tell you, it's subtle. It's like somebody said, we work hard on these things. That's Billie Eilish said about her songs. I was watching them one time. We work hard on these things, when she makes her song. Anyway, it's true. We work hard on these things, these bots. It's a lot to it. It's not a simple process, but hopefully when we deliver it and you get engaged with us, that complexity is not something you have to contend with much, and that you rely on us, who's been doing it for quite some time, to deliver these bots in a way that's the most effective. It's a engagement, it's a discovery process of making it work. What I was doing workflows, Nitro workflows. One of the many aspects of Nitro Studio. So here we go. It's a bunch of workflows on here. I'm going to skip to the one called the Notify Insurance Channel, HR Insurance Channel, to show you some of the possibilities with the Nitro workflows. Nitro workflows and custom actions, by the way, which are the buttons on the form, have a wide range. Look at all the different actions you can do here. These are ones that are used inside of SharePoint to add a list item, update a list item, send an email like alert or notification, move things around. You get more fancy with queries and variables and things like that, where you query a list, get a variable, use it in a later workflow, all kinds of things you can do with that. And invoke other workflows, including invoke a flow, or what they call Power Automate now. You can invoke a Power Automate flow. But I'm focusing specifically on the Teams capabilities, where you can create a Teams channel. send mail to a Teams channel, or post an adaptive card is one of the actions. Any kind of workflow can have multiple actions here that fire off in sequence. So in this case, we have, you could you update the item, you could send an email, you can communicate with the channel, create a channel, or post this card. And when you post the adaptive card, you can see that we're setting up the card, you give it an action name, etc. But who's the card going to? What's the layout, the title, the heading, the subheading, the description, and you're pulling information from the columns in the form itself. And then what actions you want to put here, action 1, action 2, you can go here and define you want to update a list item or invoke another workflow. Things you can do with these different actions on this adaptive card. The adaptive card is this right here kind of setup, right? So you're setting up what's on here in your Nitro workflow to be specifically what you want to have on there. What columns you want on there, what things you want, agent and different, this becomes column 1, column 2, pulled right from the list you're in and created. Okay, so it's very easy to create this. You put a description, you don't want the script. Here it is, create the card, create the actions, good to go. Send it under certain circumstances. When the issue type is insurance, send the card to this particular channel that you defined here, what channel you're gonna go. And let's look at that again. We're sending it to this channel, human resources insurance. And there we go. So, oh, wait a minute. That's sending the email to the channel, but same idea. You have to in your post of an adaptive card, you got to choose what channel you're sending it to. Where it goes, the recipient, in other words. Excuse me. It's a little late in the webinar. You're not sending it to a channel. You're sending it to a particular person. I'm sorry. This is the difference between sending to a channel. The adaptive card is sent to a particular person. So sorry for a little, jumbling things a little there. There's two kinds of, let me go through that again so we're clear. I'm clear anyway. So what you can do here is you can send an email or a message to a channel. A Teams channel is like a group activity, a group of people, usually, a channel. But an adaptive card is sent to an individual person, so that the staff bot now becomes like another entity or another person inside your teams that's now communicating back. It's not just a hello bot, let's have this interaction. The bot of its own accord, you could say, in a sense, of its own accord, because of some action that happened inside the request system, is now saying, James, hello, James, you need to, deal with this, approve or disapprove, and show up in your chat from the self-service bot to James one-on-one. That's different than showing up in a channel, channels to a group. So, I hope I clarified that. It is a lot of interacting things. You have channels and you have one-on-one chat. So this one-on-one chat is what the adaptive card goes to. The channel is what the message goes to. Just say, hey, there's a new notice, James, Pavan wants to take a vacation, and you can tell the whole channel. I find in reality that, people are still getting used to using channels in a way of a group, other, group activity. So I think that's going to come more and more important in the future as people get used to using channels. People are more used to one-on-one chat. You think of like the old days of Skype and Slack. The old days, isn't that crazy? The old days of Skype and Slack and those kind of things, where you had these one-on-one chat. Now Teams bringing in all this other possibilities with channels and things like that as ways of interaction. It takes some time for any organization. So we call organizational change management, the inertia, organizational inertia, a whole nother world in itself. How do you get an organization to adapt new technologies like this? And it takes time, and it takes a gradual approach sometimes, or to move them that way. So that's why we have various ways. Start with a one-on-one chat and go to a channel later. Whatever works. On your situation. Now let's go into, before we end this, as we're getting sort of ending. I thought it's only going to take a half hour on this, believe it or not. Isn't that crazy? It's going to take just so much here, and it's so interesting. And I always feel like I scratched the surface. And really, Crow Canyon's very interested in working with you on bots, getting bots in place, and showing you the new world of bots, what can be done. It's quite an interesting field. All right, so bot dashboard. Let's go here, administrator dashboard. Of course, this would only be available to certain administrators. You can restrict this. It's not available to everybody, of course. So here we go with our bot telemetry. I always like using that word, telemetry. I don't know, that's what our dev team uses, so sounds good to me. So telemetry, bot telemetry or bot administration, you could call it. So you see, what happened here, who entered in what kind of interactions there were, interactions by status, reports, and we can figure this according to what the needs are here. But this is what your particular bot does. I'm saying so. It's status, flow statistics, admin actions. This is the dashboard. All these cool reports. These reports, by the way, are part of our Nitro Studio reporting tool. They're not Power BI. They're our Nitro Studio reporting tool. And just like any of our reporting tools, you can export it to PDF, send it as save it as an image, or email it, or print it, or further filter it in real time if you want it. That's part of our reporting. Setting up this dashboard with the different web parts that can be put into it. List views, reports, that kind of stuff. Let's look at the analytics. So we're using all the elements we can of Nitro Studio, of Teams, of SharePoint. Microsoft provides enormous capabilities with the platform itself, and we enhance it with our Nitro Studio, and then we use it to build true business processes that really work well in the real world. We hope we dealing with the real world here. Okay, interactions by duration. You can filter it by time if you wanted. How many were yesterday, today? How many in May, June? I mean, all these things, you can come in here and further filter it if you wanted to further filter report data and go, yesterday, last week, whatever, custom. Do these things real time. So you're getting lots of information. It might not be easy at first to see exactly how this would be used, but believe me, this is useful information to say what was not resolved, why we're going to start over, and what's going on, and what does this give you as far as statistics on what you need to do to further improve the bot, which usually means one of two things: adding or revising an existing article, KB article or FAQ or whatever, and the other would be revising your process. The other would be revising your process so that if somebody got there's a bottleneck somewhere, or there's some kind of confusion, or some kind of it went off into nowhere. If you study bot design, it's very easy to what they call dead ends, or get locked in a corner kind of thing. So it's really important in conversations. Conversations, if you and I are talking, we know how to back ourselves out of a dead end. Like, oh, let's not talk about that anymore. Let's talk about something else. But in a bot, it's sort of like you have to kind of plan a little more for those kind of things, so the user doesn't get frustrated and feel like, well, I'll keep, like you ever call up on a phone and it goes for voicemail, you just want to press 000000, just give me an operator, darn it, I mean, you don't want that happening with bots. So I could cover a lot more, but we're coming up on the hour. And James, are you there? Or Manish, I wanted to see if there's any questions I could answer before we close out on this. And here's a chat. What's this?
Yeah. Hey, thanks, Scott. I think we have responded to questions, and if there are more questions, we'll be happy to answer.
Okay, James, what do you got something?
A couple questions. Yeah, I mean, just a couple questions about, does the bot require our software to does it require our software to run?
Well, okay, good question. When we interact with our back-end systems, of course, you have to have our back-end system of HR requests, and the bot is an interface to it. Now, we can do independent standalone bots. In fact, I can bring that slide that shows that we do custom work, build bots. And here's the other thing about bots: they don't have to be in teams. Once you build a bot builder, you become a bot builder, bot, whatever. You can put that into any number of channels. The bot framework allows you to enter it into just about any channel out there. There's Facebook Messenger, there's web, there's Slack. The bot can be utilized in many different channels. But we are focusing here on Teams integration, because Teams is kind of where the action is going in a lot of ways with applications on top of Microsoft Office 365. So we want to put a lot of effort into making the bot geared for it, because each channel has a little different, you could say, quirks to it, or parameters, where what can happen is something might not show up exactly the same in Facebook Messenger or Slack as it does inside of Teams. It's close, but not always the same, So when you build a bot, you don't have to build it for that specific channel, but you can make it ideally suited or optimized for a particular channel. And so in our case, where the bot would not be, okay, if you want just a bot that's an FAQ bot, you can use Q&A Maker. I did a video on it. It's in our blog roll, where 20, 30, really, seriously, 20 or 30 minutes, if you know Azure at all, you just got to go through some questions and you get an FAQ bot. You don't need our software for that. We're glad to help you as a consultant, but if you want to use that video, you can do it. You don't need our software. But for any kind of business process automation, you're going to have to go beyond the FAQ bot. The FAQ bot is purely data. You know, it has no context. Like if you ask, who's the president of France? It's going to tell you Emmanuel Macron. But then if you ask the next question, what is his wife's name? It's not going to know who his is. There's no context. There's no memory, you know, in that kind of FAQ bot. So you have to they have to say, what is Emmanuel Macron's wife's name if you're interested in that for some reason. So, you know, there's no contextual. There's also no business process automation in FAQ bot. And the other thing with FAQ bot, you have to have data. I mean, Q&A Maker could bring stuff in from existing FAQs or, you know, certain structured documents like handbooks and things like that. But there is no business. The main thing is there's no business process automation. You know, you can't enter in a request that's then managed through the whatever IT support team or purchasing or HR. Okay, and just kind of long-winded, but I wanted to get that point out. What else you got there, James?
We have another question about whether ways content in a channel or bot can be filtered or searched inside Teams. You know, I think we have a couple options for that. And Manish, you had some comments on that piece of it.
Yeah, you mean like searching inside of like if I wanted to do a search here, what can I do? Search, use a search key, right?
Right.
I can put in a vacation, I believe, if I remember this right, and then puts enter, and it'll tell me. I think what it's doing though is not searching my record. Oh, there it is. Yeah, look, there it goes. Yeah, search my tickets, and it's giving the ones about vacation inside a bot.
Yeah,
so that's really just support bot, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and just to add to it, what Scott said, like this is one is you can search a request using a keyword. That's what Scott you just did, searching for the request which contains the keyword vacation. The other is search that you can do a knowledge-based search. The first one that Scott was showing where we were getting the knowledge-based article links. So that search supports two modes. Either we can do a free text search, you type in anything, and using the NLP and language integration, we can do intelligent search, which is text search, as well as there is support for advanced query builder search. So both of them are available.
Yeah, when you go in and have a question or issue and you type in a question, it's using natural language processing. You could even misspell some things. You can misspell. Also, you can put in the knowledge base articles itself, which are kept. Somebody's asking about where the data is actually kept. The knowledge base articles are part of the request management system. Right here, there's a list called knowledge base articles, and on that, I mean, I could find it. It's in site contents. You know, it's part of this backend list. Oh, yeah, I could go right here, but this isn't the list itself. This is just a interface to the list, telling you what kind of information's in there. But you know, basically, you just go there and you manage it, and then you add articles to it. You can go here, create a new KB article, and you do have to keep. You know, it is a matter of having information in there. Now, that's for the FAQ aspect of our self-service bot. If you can be used heavily or lightly. If you want to use it heavily, you got to have a good set of data. Whether you're using any kind of FAQ bot, it's all garbage, you know, junk in. If it's junk, if there's a bunch of junk there, you're never going to get it the answers they need. You know, you can go in and modify that information as you look at your telemetry. You can also put keywords in so that you can do searches beyond just what is found in the body and subject of that article. There could be keywords, so it might be when is the next payday or paycheck, or you know, all kinds of different ways of asking the same question. You try and accommodate with keywords and things like that, and you can see what queries people are making. You can say, and then adapt your keywords or articles accordingly. Now, what about adapting the flow? The flow, I would say, someone asked that question, I just was reading it. The flow is real, isn't Mish, when you say it's really about how the Nitro workflows and custom actions, how you build those, I mean, you can adjust the flow quite a lot. if that's what the person meant. Also, the flow of, does this box come up, and do these questions, and can we change these questions, and how? Yes, you can change all that. That's more of the bot programming itself, right? There's kind of two aspects: the bot programming itself,
Right.
and then there's the workflows that are part of the business process automation. You see what I mean, right? Does that make sense, Manish?
Yes, right, Scott.
Okay, so how about reprogramming this bot to do something else? Say they wanted it to, I mean, that's something we could work with them to do, right?
Absolutely. If somebody wants, like, if you want to connect to some of the bot to work with, so out of the box, these bots work with Crew Canyon systems, including Nitro Studio. But if any customer wants to make these bots work with other systems, that can be done as a custom projects. So they can talk to, for example, if you have Salesforce and you are using other softwares, the bot can interact with them.
Yeah, you can build some really interesting scenarios where the buttons on the adaptive card invoke a workflow, and that workflow can invoke a Power Automate that invokes it's really just a matter of mapping out the process. We try and make our tools, Nitro Studio and our applications, flexible enough to cover a wide range of scenarios out there. There are many, every organization is different. Every business process has its own idiosyncrasies. So we want to, we created the Nitro Studio to be very flexible, both in the forms, the workflows, the custom actions, and all the other elements. And now with the Teams integration, we're doing the same thing. You see with the adaptive card, you can put whatever you want in the adaptive card and define your actions quite specifically on what that action should do. I think this is still open here. If we do the new action, we post an adaptive card, and you look at the actions that are available, in these buttons right here, there's all kinds of actions you can invoke a workflow. Well, one workflow could be, different kinds of workflows that Nitro work. I mean, it's just a lot you can do with this that builds up the business process automation aspect of the program. Okay. Okay, so I think we're in good shape here. Anybody, right? I think it's top of the hour. It's 1 hour webinar. We'll have a recording of this available. We're also available, contact us anytime about these kind of questions or issues about, these, let me get that slide up about let's see, this one. This is what we offer. AI-based chatbots for croaking applications, custom chatbots, bot discovery service. We have a lot of articles we're writing on it, a lot of information we're doing on AI services, on bots. We have a lot of experience. We have some upcoming webinars. There's a project management one next week about our project management tool. And then there's the thank you for attending with our information about the how to contact sales or give us a call or whatever. I mean, we'd love to hear from you about what your interest is and what can be done with chatbots, how they can integrate with Teams or your application. So I think we're good on questions here. Oh, please. Also, the bot is mentioned as self-learning. Was it? Okay. It's not self-learning in any AI sense of the word self-learning. I just answer this one question before you. It's self-learning in the sense that by having the telemetry, you as an admin could go back and do analytics that will then help you improve it. So I say it gets better over time, not because it somehow is able, learns itself through some AI kind of thing. It's more like by getting what worked and what didn't work, what questions were answered and what weren't, or what led to dead ends or what led to success available in the analytics, then you could say, how do we need to adjust this so that it is functioning at its optimum, continuous cycle of improvement. Usually what we find with bots is put them in place, and if about the first 6 months of usage, if assuming there's a good adoption rate, then people will be able to. After 6 months, it kind of settles down a little more as far as what the structure and solidity of the database and the information gets. Then it just has to be tweaked, less often. You still got to keep an eye on things, but not as much as the first few months when you put it in place. Okay, so it's not just set and forget. It's something that you want to keep an eye on for the first 3 to 6, I'd say 6 months really, but at least 3 to 6 months, and see how it's used. And the better it gets, the more users will get satisfied by their answers with it. And then, of course, this leads to reduced costs as you can people get answers quicker and all about the economic argument. But rather than go on about that, I think thank you all for joining today. Appreciate hearing from you if we can, and we'll be sending out a recording, and we'll be having more bot webinars. I think we'll do a few more bot webinars this summer. You know, at least a few more. So stay in tune with what CroCan is doing. And thank you again for joining. We'll be glad to hear from you, and hope this was useful for you. And please have a nice day, stay safe, and enjoy the summer coming on here. Thank you. Okay, bye.